and like
and do things again.
Brunch Fridays.
Yeah, it's Friday, and typically
Fridays.
on Fridays we don't do anything. We just we hang out as a family. We go and get good food.
We get to an adventure, and
we go and get good lunch or brunch or whatever. And now today, I am for my good lunch and brunch. I'm having Cheez-It Duos and a Coke Zero. No
it's
shade,
really
no judgment on my fake sugar beverage, but Pastor Jeff, these are incredible Cheez-Its.
Yes.
I know that you're a Cheez-It fan, and so make sure you give these a shot.
Bomb. Our kids are currently watching VeggieTales in our bed, and they're eating like a cupcake tray with like snacks all in there, because we're like, just don't come out of the room for right now. We need to do this.
We love our kids.
We want to talk to our community, but I think all of us, and I'm sure you can really relate to this. Us and our kids are tired of us, and as much as we love our kids,
we are looking forward to the day where we aren't within the walls of our house together.
All together.
All the time.
And again, we love them.
Love them.
I've learned so much about our kids over the past few weeks.
And they've learned a lot. I don't know about you. Actually, in the comments, I'd love to hear like what are some things that you've experienced in this time of being home, safer at home, that you've actually grown in. Like what are some of the things? Like, for example, I don't want to TMI here, but our daughter is now potty trained because of this season. And it's like,
it's so good.
What an amazing thing. What an amazing thing.
It's been a lot of fun things like that.
But so what are some of the things, as you're just commenting in the comments here, like what are some of the things that you have, new things that you've done or things, whatever, that have made this season really kind of cool and interesting? But
I'll tell you what, I think all of us are tired of cooking.
Oh my goodness, and doing dishes.
I'm so tired of dishes and cooking. And this isn't to complain. This isn't like a complaining sesh.
No,
it's just realities of like,
just real life.
We had to cook again.
Real life. If you could only see what was behind this little ledge when we were getting this video ready.
We shoved over to the side, just toys and books. Toys and books. Ford update for you guys. Our son can read, apparently.
And I want to point out, kid's 5 years old, hasn't been to school yet, and he's reading books.
I
think it's something about California.
It's just the air is just so perfect, especially now.
Especially
now, because I heard that the pollution's down.
Anyway. All right, well, that's us. We love you, and we're praying for you. Just wanted to give you a couple quick updates. So for the past 5 weeks, we have been in a series called A Healthy Response. And this series was really meant to be a healthy response to the situation that we're now in and that we're facing, of being home and trying to be good neighbors and learning how to care for people and how to be thoughtful. But this past week, when I was talking with the staff and the pastors and we were just kind of working through some stuff, I just think it's time for us to move past responding and to just try to settle into, hey, this is life,
this is what we're doing right now,
and we're moving forward. Early on in our series, we talked about how to make the most of every opportunity, and I think that now the making the most of every opportunity is to just kind of move forward, and in whatever ways we can. And so one of the ways we want to try to do that here at Community Life Church is getting back to our series on the Sermon on the Mount.
Yes, Red Letters.
Our series Red Letters, And we did that, I think starting in February.
Yeah, there's only a few weeks of it.
Well, I think we hit like 6 or 7 weeks of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was great, and it was really eye-opening as we dug into this text of Jesus, right? Like God who walked on earth as a human being, and he came out the gates with baptism and the temptation in the wilderness before he sits down with his disciples, and he says basically like, this is what I care about, and this is what God values the most. This is what like the politic and the politics and the economy of heaven is really like.
So it's like laws of man versus laws of God's kingdom, right?
Yeah, and so we were in there, and it was great, and I think we were all really challenged by like, all right, God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for Him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs, and so as we're now trying to get back into some normalcy, we're going to jump right back into the series from Matthew 5. This week we're going to be in Matthew 5:6 if you like to read ahead, if you like to plan ahead, dig in Matthew 5:6. Pastor Jeff is going to be teaching us about what it means to hunger and thirst for justice, or another translation says righteousness. Yeah. And so I know that he is prepared, and he has worked really hard to be able to share with you this week. And so we're excited. But even in the comments, like, what are some of the things that that really strike you the most about the Sermon on the Mount? What are some of the things that, if you think about Jesus, right, being God, the visible image of the invisible God, and he comes to earth, and he only has so much time to speak to people, and this is the stuff he says in Matthew 5. This is his sermon that he shares with the world. What are some things about this sermon? What are some things about the Sermon on the Mount that really jump out at you? I know that's something that we as a family, we as churches, we have gone back to over and over again, because these are the words of Jesus, the ways of Jesus, and what he cares about. Yeah. But Becca, what are some things that really stand out to you in the Sermon on the Mount?
I think for me, the entire story of this, so where he's sitting, speaking to his disciples. I know a few years ago, I don't know if I read this somewhere, or if it I don't know. If it was just me putting pieces together, but I went, oh, wait a second. So you have Moses in the Old Testament that takes the law, gives it to, God gives the law to Moses, and then Moses gives it to the Israelites. And then here's Jesus on a mountain, bringing more truth and light to the law that God had given his people, right? I think it's really beautiful. I love,
the parallels, for sure.
The parallels are so cool. Hearing, because we talked some about where Jesus was. He was baptized. He started his ministry. He went through the wilderness, and now he's here teaching his disciples. I don't know. I love it.
It's incredible.
You learn so much about the things that God cares about, not just in the first 10 verses, but throughout the entire piece. The entire sermon is just full of these beautiful truths about law and anger. What else is in here? Vows.
Salt and light, loving your enemies. Yeah.
Prayer.
Giving to the needy.
And it's all things that we need to know, and ways that we should live. It's like the better way to live. And as people who follow Jesus, what better, I don't know, not rules, but
I think
what more to live on, and how better of a way to live than the words of Jesus.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest thing that I take away from the Sermon on the Mount is that this isn't new information. It's it's like Jesus bringing clarity to what God had already said earlier in the Old Testament.
Right, and reminding his people too. So you have, during this time, you have all of these Jewish priests and lawmakers that are adding to God's law all the time, right? Making it more complex, making it more difficult to live that way. And Jesus comes and he's like, it's actually pretty simple. Like, you've heard it said this, but here's how I want to challenge you to live now, because this is actually what God intended for this law. Right?
Yeah.
So
and
it's so neat.
It's so neat. And that's where we're hanging out. And that's where we'll be, really. Probably it'll carry us through the summer. Who knows if we're back gathering, or if
and what that looks like.
Yeah, or if we'll be still in our houses watching this. Yeah. But I would just love, and just an encouragement to you, challenge to you, is if you really want to step into this season with courage, and not just buying time, but stepping into it, taking new ground. I really think that there's no better place to start than the Sermon on the Mount. Yeah. And so open up your Bibles, read Matthew 5, 6, and 7. Dig into it. And the one challenge I would have is simply, all right, what did God say here? What is God saying to me now? And how can I do it?
Yeah.
And I know that that's a really kind of an odd thing, especially in church. Like we don't want to feel like it's all about our works and what we do, but But as people of God, as the church today, like there are just some expectations of us of how we're supposed to live.
Right.
And this is what Jesus is revealing here. And so as you read it, and you read something like, God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him. Like, just the question to ask yourself is, hey, do I really recognize my need for God? Mm-hmm. What are some ways today that I can see my need for God in a new way?
Yeah.
And just hit it a verse at a time. And so we're going to be digging in on Sunday, starting in verse 6, and we're just going to keep on cruising really until the end of Matthew 7.
Yeah.
But as you read ahead, as you think about this life at home, and making the most of every opportunity, I just want to encourage you, read it, dig into it, and then ask yourself really, like, how can I do this as a person? How can I do this as a family? How can we do this as a community to really move forward and to show what God is like to the world around us?
Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I love Matthew 5 through 7.
Yeah, we do.
4. I just like it. I like it all.
All right, so it's Friday. Hope you guys have an awesome couple days.
Yeah.
I really don't know what your schedule is, and I don't know what my schedule is either. But I'm really excited for Sunday morning. We've got so much incredible,
so much fun stuff
planned for the service. Make sure you tune in. Just a reminder, we've got it now on Facebook Live and also on YouTube Live. Yeah. If you have questions about how to access that, stop by the website madeforcommunity.com.
We have updates.
And we love you.
We love
if
you
you have
guys.
questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see you soon.
That's good.